Tonight,
the House will be in order.
Controversy over a House vote.
The Equality Act isn't just neutral towards that, it's actually quite hostile towards religious freedom.
Concerns about reworking the Civil Rights Act to include LGBTQ Americans and how it could affect the rights of women and religious freedom. Plus, more testimony on Capitol Hill revealing new details about the January insurrection and breaching the halls of Congress. And
we will hear arguments in Roe against Wade.
The Hollywood movie behind the Supreme Court decision legalizing abortion. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation. Equality for all or a setback for some? Welcome to Faith Nation, everyone. I'm John Jessup. Well, the Equality Act is now headed to the Senate after approval from the U.S. House of Representatives earlier today. Its Democratic supporters say the bill amends the Civil Rights Act to prevent discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. Opponents, however, describe the legislation as anything but equal. They say it turns disagreement into a tool for discrimination. Joining us now, CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson. Abigail, no surprises today by the outcome.
That's right, John. This is the second time this bill has passed in recent years. So as you said, not very surprising. But Republicans leading up to the debate on the House floor this week have been arguing that while this bill carries a nice positive name, it is anything but. Take a look.
This is a sad day for women's rights here in the United States of America. It is a disgrace. It is disgusting. And it's downright dangerous.
Republican Representative Lauren Boebert claims the bill ignores the rights of conscience by requiring doctors to perform procedures like gender reassignments, even if it goes against their beliefs, and that it would allow children to make life-altering sex change decisions.
Under H.R. 5, parents who choose not to subject their child to puberty-blocking drugs, cross-sex hormones, they could have their children removed from their custody.
It also allows biological men who identify as women to use women's bathrooms and locker rooms and compete in women's sports.
Is Kamala Harris going to apologize to the girl who will lose her athletic scholarship to the boy who outplays her? Will Joe Biden tell the parents of the girl who gets her skull crushed how fair that is?
Congressman David Cicilline, who introduced the bill, tells NBC News this is a non-existent issue.
And the truth is, this notion of trans women in sports being some threat is just a non-existent issue. There's no evidence that trans women are winning in competitive sports at a greater rate than cis women. There's no evidence.
But in Connecticut, where a similar law already exists, more than a dozen women's state track championship titles have been won by biological males in the last few years, leading to a lawsuit from female athletes.
If the Equality Act passes, we're looking at a future where at school districts across the United States, a biological male will be able to simply identify as female and dominate women's sports. We really are looking at a situation where it could be the beginning of the end of women's sports in our country.
The Alliance Defending Freedom also warns it will mean the end of religious liberty cases winning in court.
Now, the Equality Act is a priority for President Biden in his first 100 days in office, but as of now, it's unclear if it has the 60 votes needed to clear the Senate. John?
All right, CBN Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson joining us now with a closer look at the impact of this bill. CBN News senior national affairs correspondent Heather Sells and Angela Morabito, spokesperson and higher education fellow at Campus Reform. Ladies, thank you for being here. Heather, to you first. I know you've been following this effort to pass the Equality Act for some time. It was a foregone conclusion that it would pass in the House. It's already passed before, as Abby mentioned in her report. Heather, what do you anticipate, though, when it comes to the Senate?
Right, and that's a big question now because of the makeup of the Senate. It does need 60 votes to pass in the Senate to avoid a filibuster, John, and right now what we're seeing is that there's not Republican support for it. You're seeing moderate Republicans like Mitt Romney and Susan Collins backing off. So, that's the question. Is it going to get an actual debate in the Senate, or is it merely going to be introduced and then Democrats can use it as a wedge election issue coming up?
Angela, to you, critics cite concern for women and girls with this legislation. How could this bill affect them?
This bill has the potential to devastate women's sports. I mean, we want everyone to play the game, but we want everyone to play fairly, quite literally on a level playing field. And if you look at the science here, there was a study recently in the British Journal of Sports Medicine that says transgender women are still bigger, faster, and stronger than biological females, even after a year on hormones. And the effects here are immeasurable, but if we were to try to measure it in terms of scholarship opportunities, the NCAA grants about $2 billion in scholarships every year. And for the average athlete, their scholarship is about $18,000 annually. So this could literally cost high school athletes quite a bit.
We are talking about that, Angela, in the abstract. Do you have any specific examples where it actually has played out in reality or is playing out and hurting women in sports?
Absolutely. Well, as you mentioned, the case in Connecticut, there are 3 female athletes who are suing the athletic conference and their municipalities because 2 transgender women actually won 15 state-level track and field titles in, I believe, about a year or 2. So these 3 girls who were at the top of their game, they had worked virtually their whole lives to excel in their sport. They were losing out on scholarship opportunities to transgender women who were, like it or not, competing in biologically male bodies.
Heather, Republicans are advancing what's called the Fairness for All Act. It's an alternative to the Equality Act. Heather, is there any way to address both civil rights for LGBTQ Americans while also still respecting religious freedom?
Right. I think what's interesting about Fairness for All is it is perhaps a model for going forward, John, and we don't have that with the Equality Act. Fairness for All is giving LGBT Americans civil rights, but it is also providing religious liberty protection. A lot of conservatives say it's not providing enough religious liberty protection, but it could be a template, if you will, for going forward.
Heather, and real quick question, a follow-up for you. We've seen the business community really rally behind this bill. Apple, for example. How much pressure do you think they're going to put on Republicans in the Senate because of their close relationship with the business community?
I don't know. I don't think this country is ready right now to pass such a landmark LGBTQ bill. I think there needs to be a more sophisticated conversation about religious liberty. So I think it's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen this go around, John.
All right. Heather Sells and Angela Marabito, thank you so much for being with us and extending more information on this important topic. Well, tonight, the probe on Capitol Hill into the deadly January 6th insurrection continues. Earlier this week, senators grilled the former heads of security charged with protecting lawmakers. Today, the House had its turn to weigh in. CBN national security correspondent Eric Phillips joins us for more. Eric?
Well, John, the difference between today's hearing and the one that occurred earlier this week is today they were talking to those who are current heads of security on Capitol Hill. So the line of questioning, while similar, focused just as much on the future as it did on the past.
What went wrong on January 6th?
U.S. Capitol Police Acting Chief Yogananda Pittman unflappable as she answered questions from the panel, pushing back on the suggestion that prior to January 6th, the department either ignored or was ignorant to good intelligence.
The department was not ignorant of intelligence indicating an attack of the size and scale we encountered on the 6th. There was no such intelligence. Although we knew the likelihood for violence by extremists, no credible threat indicated that tens of thousands would attack the U.S. Capitol.
Pittman said based on the threat, Capitol Police had increased details around the building, deployed SWAT teams, and increased the perimeter. Still, that wasn't enough in light of the droves of protesters who were not a part of the extremist groups.
To stop a mob of tens of thousands requires more than a police force. It requires physical infrastructure or a regiment of soldiers.
A sentiment echoed by the acting House Sergeant at Arms.
On January 6th, there was a failure to either gather, synthesize, or disseminate intelligence, and there were indications that the intelligence was muddled or contradictory.
Pittman detailed how the former chief asked for National Guard assistance prior to January 6th, as well as several times that day before it was actually granted. She estimates more than 10,000 demonstrators bombarded the Capitol complex that day, with some 800 rioters forcing their way inside the building. She says the main problem that she's addressing going forward is communication all the way around.
Our radio communications to officers were not as robust, and we are ensuring that our incident command system protocols are adhered to going forward.
Pittman says she now communicates with intelligence partners several times a day to make sure there are no more hiccups, as the threat is still high.
Acting Chief Pittman says there are 35 officers under investigation right now. 6 have been suspended with their policing powers revoked for violating protocols, including posing for pictures with rioters on that day back in January 6th. John.
All right, CBN News national security correspondent Eric Phillips. Thanks, Eric. Well, rare agreement in Congress. While lawmakers on both sides of the aisle support an increase in the federal minimum wage, they disagree on how much. At $7.25, the minimum wage has stayed the same since 2007. Some Democrats label it a starvation wage, proposing a gradual increase to $15 an hour over the next 4 years as part of the $1.9 trillion stimulus plan, a topic addressed in today's Senate budget hearing.
Some people believe that these increases will harm small businesses. I understand that. Now, I fully understand that there is a major difference between Walmart and a small, struggling business.
Senator Sanders said he's sympathetic to providing small businesses with tax breaks to offset increased labor costs associated with the wage hike. And here now, David Brody, CBN chief political analyst. David, Democrats are trying to wedge that minimum wage increase into the COVID relief package. What are the chances it actually makes it in?
50-50 at this point. I mean, it's really unknown. I mean, a lot's obviously going to depend on the parliamentarian, whether or not she decides that it is willing or it's allowed to go into a budget reconciliation bill, this big COVID stimulus bill we've been hearing about. So we just don't know. But Nancy Pelosi, what was interesting, she said actually today at her news conference, and this is a quote, "We will pass a minimum wage bill." Notice she said minimum wage bill. She didn't say a COVID-19 bill, COVID-19 stimulus bill with a minimum wage requirement in it. In other words, Democrats are somehow, some way going to try to pass a minimum wage bill. It just might not get in the COVID stimulus bill. And plus, there's no way $15 an hour is going to work. They're going to need some Republicans anyhow. It'll probably be a lot less than that ultimately.
David, that is an eagle eye catch. Nothing gets by you. To the elections, Illinois Republican Congressman and Air Force vet Adam Kinzinger, one of the 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach former President Trump, now faces a primary challenge from a former Trump aide. David, is President Trump's warning or promise to Republicans who's opposed him coming true?
Oh, yeah. It's not only coming true, but it's happening earlier than expected. And not to quote the musical Hairspray, but you can't stop the beat was the big song there. And the bottom line is when you're against Trump, you can't stop the beat. They're coming for you in the primaries for sure.
And I take it this is not just Kinzinger. This is not just a one-off. There are others that Trump is probably eyeing as well.
100%. And it goes down the list, but a lot of them haven't announced yet, obviously. Yeah.
What do you anticipate to hear from Trump this weekend? I know we're just a couple of days ahead of his concluding address at CPAC, but what do you expect to hear from him as it relates to his effort to continue to solidify his lead in the party?
Well, he's probably going to speak for a couple hours, by the way, number one. Number two, I think he's going to look ahead to 2022, and he's going to say, basically, don't mess with me and don't mess with the people that supported me.
Right. All right, CBN's David Brody, thank you so much for your time.
You bet.
When we come back, why today's unemployment numbers show some hopeful signs for the economy, even amid the pandemic.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
A Millsburg Falls man coming.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
And welcome back. A sharp drop-off in the number of Americans seeking unemployment. 730,000 workers applied for jobless aid last week, over 100,000 fewer from the previous week. Still a historic high and far greater than the record set during the Great Recession. Also, an adjusted look at the last 3 months of 2020 shows the economy grew at a 4.1% pace in the final quarter. That gain overshadowed, though, by the overall economy shrinking 3.5%, the largest decline since 1946. For more now on the jobless numbers and the overall economy, we turn to the ever-trusty Mark Hamrick, Senior Economic Analyst and Washington Bureau Chief at Bankrate. Mark, always great to have you. You know, the latest unemployment figures, Mark, what does it signal to you against the backdrop of the adjusted picture of the economy in the final quarter of 2020, growing at a slightly better pace than first expected, but the overall economy still contracting significantly?
Well, that's right. We get these minor adjustments in GDP for what now seems like a long time ago, the fourth quarter of last year, and we're really focused now on where we are now and where we're headed. The latest snapshot with respect to the job market involves new claims for unemployment benefits, and that news did come in a little better than expected. 730,000 new claims in the programs administered by the state. That declined by about 130,000 from the previous week's revised level. We get to about 1.2 million new claims. We include the programs associated with addressing the pandemic, including the programs that help gig workers. One thing we need to be cautious about here, John, and that is there may have been some delays in either filing or processing of claims because of that horrible winter weather and the power outages we had around Texas and elsewhere in the United States. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we do think the U.S. economy is headed to a better place. And as we get more vaccines administered, that's going to be key. Still feeling the effects of that winter storm. Mark, COVID relief is on track to get a vote in the full House by this weekend, potentially. Moody's Mark Zandi says the portion helping American families doesn't do enough to help those most in need. What are your thoughts there? Well, I think there's a complaint broadly about this package, and it's among moderate Democrats as well as a majority, the Republicans on Capitol Hill, that it's bloated and that it's not targeted enough. The other part is, of course, the stimulus checks. The program calls for $1,400 in payments, basically to anyone who has low or modest incomes. There's obviously a lot of inefficiency associated with that, and that is one of the bigger parts of the package. Mark, in a letter to world leaders, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen called the vaccines the strongest form of stimulus to provide for the world economy. Some suggest the American economy is poised to take off once the rollout gets back in gear, people get vaccinated,
and the pandemic winds down. I know Bankrate recently released a brand new survey that shows there might be some kinks in the chain of progress, namely how comfortable people feel shopping and dining out even after getting a vaccine.
That's right, John. And part of that survey also found that basically 70% of Americans said that they expect to get the vaccine. That's consistent with what we've seen elsewhere. 30% say they're unlikely to do that. And that's better, by the way, than what we tend to get with flu vaccines. 1 in 4 Americans said that they will be uncomfortable with the idea of going back out in public and basically frequenting the places that they have in the past, such as grocery stores, restaurants, and malls, even if they get the vaccine. So being uncomfortable may not mean that they're not going to do it, but I do think that that could be something on the margin that restrains the strength of the economic recovery going forward. Nevertheless, we want to caution people, if you've got a stimulus check coming, if you have some extra cash, if you're getting an income tax refund, try to save some of that money.
Some good advice there. Bankrate's Mark Hamrick, thank you so much for your time. Always feel like I get a little smarter after talking with you.
Thank you, John.
Coming up, a new movie attempts to give a behind-the-scenes look at the Supreme Court decision legalizing abortion. CBN's Paul Strand talks to the film's director next.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world-class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
And welcome back. The 1973 Supreme Court decision legalizing abortion today is regarded as one of the country's most hotly contested issues. A new movie called Roe v. Wade goes behind the scenes to reveal more about the background and legal case that influenced the landmark decision. CBN's Paul Strand talked to the director, who also stars in the film.
We will hear arguments in Roe against Wade.
I was really surprised that no one had really made a movie about the most famous court case in American history.
While Nick Loeb wrote and directed Roe v. Wade, he also portrays the doctor whose manipulation of information and lies about polls helped make the country believe abortion was more popular with Americans than it really was.
This is a conspiracy.
We found a girl in Texas. We'll give her a pseudonym. Call her Jane Roe.
Now they're coming after the unborn. So you're going to do nothing?
That doctor is Bernard Nathanson, who is shown in the movie eventually has a change of heart, complete with grief and guilt over aborting his own child and paving the way for millions of others. Loeb can relate.
I didn't wake up one day and become pro-life. That happened over time of me dealing with abortions that I had been involved in, and the realization that I had participated in the killing of my own children.
The writer-director says he didn't really set out to make a movie that could be labeled pro-Roe v. Wade or anti-Roe v. Wade.
or even faith-based.
We tried not to be preachy. We tried to go down the middle of the road. We tried just to lay out the facts.
These girls should not be put through the pregnancy and should be entitled to an abortion.
Doctors must protect life from the point of conception.
Who is speaking for these children? The main fact he hopes viewers get:
that life begins at conception. And if they can understand that there's a baby there, I think it could open a lot of hearts and minds and change folks.
This is beyond the authority of the Supreme Court. We are the law of the land.
After this weekend's world premiere, Roe v. Wade will launch on numerous platforms April 2nd. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
Coming up, college students taking a break from their studies tonight to lead the nation in prayer. We explain after this.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Protect your sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
And finally tonight, college students across the country will be closing their textbooks to take part in the National Collegiate Day of Prayer. Regent University, which sits on the CBN campus in Virginia Beach, Virginia, is hosting this year's event. Dr. Gerson Moreno-Riano says the goal is to join students, college and universities in prayer and for revival.
Some of the greatest revivals in our country began in college campuses. And we think that universities are just pivotal to the future of our country, and its students are pivotal, obviously. So we want to really pray for the Lord to do a great work in the hearts and minds of all of us and our students and faculty and staff throughout America.
The prayer will be simulcast live tonight with various remote locations and Zoom rooms across the nation. If you want to join in and follow along, you can find out more information at our website, cbnnews.com. And it is really neat to see a tradition that dates back to the 1800s still going on today. Well, thank you so much for watching Faith Nation. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow.